going to put this on our website, and I'm sure there will be hundreds of people accessing this information because everybody wants to hear about STEM Best and the sage wisdom of Tim Felderman here. I am Tanya Hunt. I am a project coordinator here at the Governor's STEM Council. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us today. And I have the privilege of introducing our director here, Jeff Weld, who is going to talk about the Governor's STEM Council.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. Great to be here and to explore this topic of STEM Best, one of the absolute most innovative and interesting things we're fortunate to be able to support through the Governor's STEM Advisory Council. It is, oh my gosh, how many years in now? 5 since we launched this initiative. In 2014, I believe, was our first cohort. Started with 3 school business partnerships across Iowa, and now, as you all probably are well aware, 58 partnerships involving 63 awards to 58 school district business partnerships is what we have going. And likely to award another dozen to 2 dozen, hopefully, yet later this spring to keep this growth going. I was reflecting right before we locked in here about the early days of this initiative. And you all should know that Governor Reynolds, then Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, took this initiative very seriously and accompanied us on kind of a junket, a fact-finding mission around the country. We went to Brooklyn, New York, and we studied the P-TECH high school model of IBM in partnership with the New York City schools. And P-TECH has now spread to half a dozen communities around the country, of course. We thought long and hard about whether we would just bring P-TECH to Iowa and decided against it, obviously, for reasons someday I could go into if you'd like. We also took several trips to the Kansas City area, where they were pioneering a model called CAPS, Centers for Advanced Professional Studies. Studied that model quite a bit and considered bringing CAPS to Iowa. Decided finally not to, but to take some of the best aspects of CAPS and of P-TECH and bring those to Iowa. Sprinkle in a bit of study around Edison schools, New Tech High, some of the math science academies that have sprung up across the country, and mix it all together and you get STEM Best. And we have an Iowa brand of the best aspects of each of those models that we now roll out across our state. I think the most successful aspect of the brand that we've rolled out in Iowa called STEM Best is that there's enough flexibility in the funding and the model that it allows all of you to do very unique partnerships suited and customized to your community, to your school strengths, and to the community partners that surround you. And so it's far from a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter model. It's much more of a custom-built boutique model that suits your needs. So it's incredibly interesting to see the creative solutions that have sprung up, as you'll hear from Tim Felderman and West Delaware model in particular today. I'm enamored by all of them, and I think it's the most innovative experiment in education that's taking place across Iowa. Data is just beginning to roll in about the impact that these models are having on the kids of our state, and everybody who's associated with it knows there's something profound going on with these kids and their educators and their community partners and families that, again, we're just humbled and honored to play a small part in supporting. So thanks for dialing in this afternoon. We'll likely have some recorders as well as some real-time viewers. And we hope this helps everybody advance this cause down the tracks. And we got your back. We're in all the way with you. So with that, back to the project coordinator. We're grateful to have on hand Tanya Hunt.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a perfect summary of our passions here at the Governor's STEM Council and how STEM Best relates to that. And just to give a little bit more info, if you are interested in finding out or would like us to follow up with you one-on-one, feel free to drop your contact information in the chat. Your contact name, organization, and email would be preferential. And with that, today we are embarking on this journey of providing you a 5-part series on STEM Best. These are topics that we feel kind of promote the interest of what STEM Best is, what would qualify in supports of providing a good application. The application window is now open. It was open February 10th and then closes on May 15th of this year. So we're providing this webinar series in an effort to produce the awareness and with the hopes that we can spread this opportunity to all of the students in Iowa. And here today to share with us one of our STEM Best champions is Tim Felderman, who's here to talk about how to reach out and share tips to reaching to our business partners. STEM Best is the heart of what partnership is. And so to share with you today some tips and tricks is Tim Felderman.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to join in and share the story of Delco Best. It's been an amazing 3 to 4 year ride for us and what we've learned, not just about our students' learning styles, but also all the various components of the resources that our community provides us. It has been just a natural evolution in what we're trying to do here for becoming more learner-centered in our instructional delivery. And it's really just further developed the relationships that we have within Delaware County. And now, and some of the things I'll be able to talk about further in the conversation today, some things we're starting to look at statewide in utilizing the Iowa Work-Based Learning Clearinghouse. It's been an amazing ride for us. Now, the key question that Tanya posed to me is, how do you even start this conversation with your community? And we are fortunate enough through our local Delaware County Economic Development to have an amazing resource. And so I would encourage anyone that as you start to build the relationships within your county, your region, your local school district, to reach out to these people that have expertise besides just what we as educators know. They know the major people that are willing to open their doors, share their times and their talents with people that are engaged in the community, want to further the education of students. And we have that ability through our local county economic development coordinator to do so. So that was step one, seeing what the resources that Donna Boss is her name, what she could share with us. From there, we've had some different conversations with our sector board. And those are different people from industry that are willing to obviously give of their time and their talents to help nurture an educational environment with schools in our county. And then we also took a look at, as I mentioned before, the Iowa Work-Based Clearinghouse, which is a newer endeavor, more recent, and what we can do when there's opportunities for our students to either partner with an organization within the state, or perhaps if there is something that catches a student's interest level that they could replicate here within Delaware County. We have some students looking at that. So that was our first screen as to how do we engage our community as reaching out and using those predetermined resources. So how do we get them around the table? Well, luckily through the email contacts that the County Economic Development chairperson has, we were able to utilize some time that is set aside monthly and take a look at just even explaining what Delco Best was all about to those people. And we really try to emphasize the notion of these do not have to be grandiose projects that you pitch to students. Rather, what are the projects you just spend enough time to get off the ground within your local business, or you've just kind of always dreamed a little bit. And those are projects that our students, when you pitch those projects, that they could pick up upon. And also making sure that we tell our businesses that there's no harm or foul if a student group does not pick up on those projects. Okay, we want to go off of what the students, what captures their hearts during all of this, and making sure that there's some buy-in from both parties. So don't be offended if there is not your project selected first round. We'll have opportunities for you down the road. And that's gone over very well for us, that philosophy. because people come back to us now that we've set the foundation to the program. They have, and there's been results because there's a little bit of trepidation at first. Now they've come back to us if they've seen some of the products that have come from students and the high level projects that have come from that. Our next conversation that we start having is we, again, send out a general invitation to our community, both businesses as well as historical societies or different special interest groups, to see if they wanted to join a Partner Palooza. And a lot of the wording that I'll use today is based off of Iowa Big, because we had an opportunity to visit them. So you'll hear that terminology a lot, Partner Palooza. We also use a lot of terminology from High Tech High as well. But we had a meeting of people that were interested and actually had those pitching of projects. Share different, a PowerPoint with them, some brochures that we had as well, of different types of projects or different ways that our community could partner with our students. So whether it's projects, or I'll share this, Tanya got the, here it is, share different forms of how they could support. Give me 1 second here. How they could support this program by different projects. This is not the one I want. I apologize. I want. Oh, sorry, folks. I'm not finding it right now. Here, this is what I'm looking for. Different opportunities for businesses to participate, because we didn't want any local organization or business to feel that, well, I couldn't, that they can't meet this magical goal of what a project should look like. So we try to have as many different avenues for them to help participate with the students. So whether it's projects, whether it's mentors, whether it's networking, perhaps you're working with Collins Aerospace, but you might have to utilize Fear Graham, 2 of our local businesses. So just because you're not working with Fear Graham, you may eventually need to get to that level in designing something. Or perhaps initially you start off working with our local radio station in some marketing aspects. Well, eventually you may need to work with a local video production organization in developing a promotional video. So there's a lot of different ways that businesses could join in this project. And don't be offended again if you're not picked up initially, because you may eventually down the road join in. Let's see, I'm gonna close out of this. Oops. So there's a lot of different ways that you could join in on this. Yeah, this is on a click. Other things that we've done is, and we've learned along the way, as Jeff and Tanya mentioned before, a lot of different things that if we do this over again, what would we do differently? Well, we wanted to make sure that we were seeing that the feedback from the businesses was not occurring in a timely manner. That was our fault. We'll admit that we were not seeking feedback. And so we've now done some things where we set up different mileposts along the way, that every 2 weeks there will be feedback that is gained from businesses as to how the students are meeting the expectations of the initial plan the students developed with the business, so they knew what was going on. We've also learned that one size fits all communication methods do not always suffice the needs. Just because you you think that, well, sending an email out to the businesses may be a good way because they're trying to respect their time. And whenever they get to something, that may work well. Well, sometimes a phone call is better because some people may not always get to their emails in a timely manner. So we've learned things along the way, and we asked that question up front. How would you like to be communicated with to provide feedback? I think also from my notes here, but we've had some amazing projects as well. You know, we've had the opportunity to work with the Iowa DNR on the Lake Delhi floodplain analysis. I know Jeff and Tanya have seen a chemistry lab remodel our students worked on, or our student worked on, and the multiple different components of a remodel plan, both from the design, finance, working with cabinetry companies, working with the local labor to help make sure that the timelines are met with some great things. Mentioned before, different marketing aspects, social media, websites, having organizations realize the value in the 21st century of Twitter and Snapchat. They've done different promotional things for the county as well to have more people just work as well as live in Delaware County. And we're starting to see some results of that as well. And we're hearing from people that they're seeing those different marketing tools. So that's been great. And we've also connected with Homestead 1839 in Burlington and the design of a chicken tractor for them. So we've got a group of our Delco Best students that are working with an organization in Burlington. And that's been a real unique experience for us. They won the competition for the design of that chicken tractor. And they're going to be taking that down to Burlington in a couple of weeks. So it's expanded the horizons beyond just Delaware County. And that's a great side benefit as well, to have our kids out there learning from people that are outside the usual comfort zone of just here in Delaware County. So we've had a lot of successes. We've learned a lot along the way. And the one thing that if I could pitch what our model is, that's a little bit different from others, is the fact that some schools may have a full-time dedicated person for this. We do not. How we designed our program is that in a block schedule, we'll have someone throughout the course of the year, but they may be placed at different times throughout that block schedule, periods 1 through 4. And that allows a little bit more flexibility with students' schedules, as well as we just didn't have the financial resources to have a dedicated person for this. So we've been utilizing our resources to the best of our advantage, realizing that we can't get exactly where we want to be. Now, we'd love to have a full-time person, but we value this program as much that we want to have this opportunity for our students. And that's how we approached it. Just a really quick rundown about Delco Best.
That's great, Tim. It was great. Thank you for sharing. At this point, are there any questions we have from any of our participants that are joining? Feel free to unmute, or if you're more comfortable dropping it in the chat, we can see it there.
While you wait, I got a question for Tim. I always appreciate you spreading the joyful things happening up there at Delco Best. You mentioned early on, I think a point that's really critical in the rolling out of new bests, and that is the ice breaking that has to take place in the early stages. And you mentioned reaching out to the sector board. And it's particularly intriguing because you ended with how the position is a rotator. And so the question is, for a new best proposer, who got to do that reaching out? It's somebody you got to trust. And how does somebody just pick up the phone and call the sector board or call the community chamber and make sure they get listened to, and that critical first step doesn't get fumbled?
Yeah, it takes a lot of care and feeding of the resources, of the businesses that are out there. Luckily, I think to our advantage, we had a very great relationship with our county economic development before this time. It's one of the things when I made my journey down here to Manchester that I put a lot of emphasis on, is getting out into the community and making sure that we're forming these relationships. And Donna was one of the very first people I ever had an opportunity to meet coming here to Delaware County. So through just regular contact, putting my face in front of them, so we're not viewed as that other building that happens to be here in Manchester. We have done a lot of things in giving back to our community as well, so people didn't perceive it as a one-way street. Has helped. But I would say, just making sure that you're knocking on enough doors that eventually someone's going to open up the door to you. And when they trust what the school is doing and how much they value the input of the community, I think that definitely helps.
Thank you.
We have a question posed here, Tim, from Andrew. He is wondering, what were the major barriers to starting or engaging, and how did you overcome them?
I think one of the first initial barriers were from the students' side of it. This is a new type of instructional method, learning style for students. And a lot of students were like, well, we've heard about it, but what is this thing? And we had our students, we met with the students who had done some pre-registration of Delco Best, met with them in the spring before the actual class started in the fall, and met with them and just had some very deliberate conversations with them about what this program would be. And we were honest with them, admitting that we did not know all the answers. But we showed them some different things that other schools have done. Best of my memory, we might have also taken some students up to Charles City in New Hampton. For some reason, that's in my brain. I can't think of this exact road trip up there. No, excuse me. We had a conference call with them, and students presented to our students. That's what it was. That's what they have done up there, and that gained a lot of interest as well. I would say also another thing that helped is at the end of that first term, through the graciousness of the STEM Best grant, we had different promotional things within the building. We had different TV monitors. And we had students actually developed like a 4-slide PowerPoint show. And we put that up there on those TV displays where we're getting out the word of what this new class was all about. And so I think that helped as well, is just the educational. What is this thing? Because it seems like it's from Mars right now for us. I think that helped where students were starting to talk to students about what it was. And then they were showcasing what the projects were at the end of the term. That helped with further enrollment and recruitment.
Right. I have one question for you, Tim. What if, because sometimes it takes a group of people to come together to effectively plan and implement this STEM Best, but it usually takes a change agent or a leader. If you are that person and you are not an administrator in the school like yourself, what would you say would be the best steps in getting your leadership and administration on board?
Oh, that's a really good question. Because I sit in this chair now, so I'm trying to think back upon when I was teaching, how I would approach that. I think what I would do is I would schedule a meeting with my administrator and just kick out ideas at them. And so, hey, I'm hearing this. It's a big topic now in the state of Iowa. And the acronym STEM means a lot, hopefully, to all administrators. What's a way that Mr. or Mrs. Administrator, that we're going to start to dabble our feet into this and see what the student's interest level is? I'm willing to put in the time and the effort to investigate it, get you more information based on whatever questions that you may have on it is, but just starting that conversation of, hey, I'm willing to kind of step up myself and see what this is all about. What questions might you have? And how can we kind of maneuver within the structures of our current master schedule or program of studies to provide an opportunity for students that is real life. It's engaging. It's authentic. Everything that we should be in this for as educators. What can I do to help get you more knowledge? Wouldn't say I'm trying to get you to sell or buy on this. But what are the questions that you've always wondered about? I'm willing to put in the time and effort to learn more about that for you, to be your researcher.
I like what Tim had said earlier too, and that's a perfect answer for Andrew Rolfs. Andrew, we know well, businessman in Northwest Iowa, who would likely have to take that advice if Andrew approaches his school. But Tim, you said something so critical early on about how communities, since I was a high school teacher, viewed us as, we take but we don't necessarily give back to the community unless you're a sports fan who happens to come down on Friday night to watch the game. And this is a flipping of the script. You're very much giving back to the community through the products and the value adds of the BEST model.
And that's something, Jeff, that, not that we try to be deceptive or devious in this, but I've had the conversation over the last few years with our teachers on what are ways that we can make sure that whatever the students are doing, it is prominently out there. It's not behind, just inside of an office space. What are some things that we can do at the Whitewater Park? What are some things that we can put things out there on social media? So it's not just in this nice little box and done very well, but it's also very visible as well. And every once in a while, I'll throw out random crazy ideas from ours at our teachers about things, how we can do that. Because teachers, naturally, we are humble people. We don't want to toot our own horn. But we're not tooting our own horn for the sake of us and our resume. We're trying to promote our kids. And that's what this should be about. What are the skills that they now have because of an awesome opportunity such as this? And that usually sings to the heart of many people.
Oh yeah, I find myself echoing that when I meet with administrators who are on the fence or tepid about all this. It's like, I see you all winning the hearts and minds of your communities. And what school leader doesn't want to win the hearts and minds of the community? And I see Chad Jansen, another winner of hearts and minds of the community, has joined us. But don't let me tell you how to
No,
proceed.
that's okay, Chad. I'm glad you could join us. I cannot see you. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe you're
No, I'm not sure why the camera's not working.
okay. Well, we would love for you to. Tim has so graciously shared his perspective, and if we'd love for you to share your perspective from Rock Valley and all the great things you're doing up there with Rocket Manufacturing.
Absolutely. So if I click share screen, then
Yeah.
you can see my screen. Is that right?
Yep, that's.
That works.
There we go.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I thought I'd just give kind of a quick synopsis of what we have going on here so you can understand the perspective of why we're doing what we're doing and where we're coming from. So I'll try and kind of go through this really quickly. So we have Rocket Manufacturing is a student-run manufacturing business. So really we have a lot of school business partnerships going on. So this is just kind of a snapshot of the kids. Its program's gone from about 13 kids to 30 kids in the process of the last number of years. So just our school district, this is a year old, so we're about 955 kids now. And our community is about 4,000 people, 950 students, 45% pre-introduced. We have a Hispanic population. So, we're not obviously not this large district. We are a lot like a lot of different communities, but manufacturing is a big part of our community. Rock Valley is kind of the little engine that could when it comes to manufacturing in the state of Iowa, as well as construction and agriculture, much like most rural communities. So Rocket is, like I said, it's a student-run manufacturing business. We don't make widgets in this class. Everything is sold to real people for real money. Students go through an interview process, some prerequisite classes that they have to take, and they design the parts that they make. They produce things on CNC machines that are much like the equipment that you see in the shops here that are automated computer-based machines. It's welding. We have a 3D printer. We have a plasma table that they make signs on. And then on the business side of things, this is where the class has grown the most. It's gone from 1 student to 10 students since its inception. We have kids that do the accounting for the program, and then they match their dollars up with our business manager here at school. We have a public relations director, a shop floor director, somebody who works with web design. We have a couple students that work with social media and promoting what we're doing here. And really that's just working on a lot on communication skills. And so some pictures of different things that we have produced over time. So that is my 1 minute and 30-second synopsis of what we do here in Rocket Manufacturing. So when we first got started, and this is where the partnerships come into play, we sat down and met with a group of about 10 core people. And these are the 4 questions that we asked. What should a graduate of the industrial tech program be able to do? What skill set are you looking for in a new hire? What would you like to see in our program? And then I said, the last question is partnering together, what investment might you be willing to make? And I said, someday we'll talk about that question. And it took a year and a half before we talked about that. And I think the biggest thing in a school business partnership is that when we as superintendents or schools call the businesses in our communities, I think their first reaction always is, well, how much do you want? You know, because we, you know, it's just, it's part of what we do. We ask for support, and, you know, we just have to be so cautious of that perspective. And so we really focused from the very beginning on how can we help them. And that was the conversation for a year and a half. And then when it came time to talk about money, we had a meeting with 40 people, and that was on a Friday. And on Monday, I got a call from a businessman, said, hey, I called the place where we buy forklifts from. They just got a trade-in that they're going to sell for $4,000. They said they'd sell it to you for $750. And I don't know how many stories I can tell you about that, but I really think that part of the reason that we've been successful is we've constantly talked about how can we help you. So another example of that is we recently received $10,000. I don't know what the name of it was, but because we had gotten a STEM Best grant, we had access to apply for this $10,000 grant. And so we purchased some CNC simulator equipment. So the panels that appear on the CNC equipment are there. It's just a panel, and it's hooked up to just a computer. So it simulates the CNC machine, and then CNC runs on this computer program. So I have contacted our area businessmen. We have somebody from in town coming in to teach our teachers how to use this program rather than traveling to Chicago and sitting in a room with a bunch of people that do this for a living. And I said, how can we use this equipment to help you train your own employees? And so through a conversation, you know, if everybody were to chip in, could we purchase a few more of these and use the local community college to provide training for when their people that run these machines in their shops are ready to take the next step? You know, so to continually ask the question, how can we help you, instead of focusing on how you can help us? I think that's one of the reasons that we've been successful. And so we spent a lot of time talking about 21st century skills, employability skills, whatever word you want to use. And it just revolves around all these things that we talk about, that in our businesses talk about. Even at a meeting in Des Moines, people were talking about these same things, and that we just don't see them. And so to me, these are the keys. These are the keys to a successful business partnership with schools. Is you have to find a cheerleader. You have to find somebody in your community that is the peers of all these businesses that will come out and say, hey, this school's got this great thing going on. You need to get on board. You need to call them. They're going to be calling you, and let them be their cheerleader. Because then this idea of how much do you want isn't part of the conversation, because it's not you making that contact. You have this cheerleader or two that's behind you, because those business leaders have influence with each other. I've shared a lot already. The partnerships have to be mutually beneficial. They have to see what are they getting out of this. And our people really thought, great, we're going to get some employees out of this. And if you ask them today about this program, they would tell you, this is just a great program for kids. And if we get an employee out of this, it's a cherry on top for us, because they just get what we're trying to do at this point, which is really awesome. The relationship can't be about money. It's got to be, how are you helping them? The focus of these partnerships needs to be enhancing the future of kids. You know, I go back to this idea of, you know, hey, we're going to be able to get some employees out of this. They were thinking about what they could get, not necessarily thinking about what the kids were going to get out of this, but now they see it. They see the growth in communication skills, because, you know, all of our kids, they don't use their cell phone to talk to each other. They've got their thumbs going on. And so you know, when they start in our program, they're scared to death to go to pick up the phone and call an adult that they don't know. And 2 months in, it's no big deal. and our businesses now see the value of those things that they're getting out of it. And because students are capable of some amazing things. And so we focus on how is this program impacting our community. So locally we're helping train a workforce because we now have people or kids that have gone through this program working in town. It's better preparing for them for workforce. It's creating greater efficiency in their businesses because they can take work that they do that their employees might deem as boring, but they subcontract to us because boring, simple work is good for our kids to learn on. It's instead of them, I've had a business person say, I could spend $5,000 training a new employee and they stay 2 months and leave. I'd rather spend the $5,000 here and know I'm going to get a kid out of your program. Even the city looks at this of future citizens, future entrepreneurs, economic development, so we're increasing workforce readiness. We have to capture student interest, keep jobs in our community, increase post-secondary enrollments, addressing the skill gap in our community. All these things are only benefiting our community. And again, I know I keep saying this over and over, but the focus has constantly been about how can we help our communities. So whether it's been training, we've had work from them, equipment from them, donations, both in kind and actual physical donations, advertising that they do for us, including in Rock Valley and outside of Rock Valley. We have this Productivities, this company out of Minneapolis that gave us this industry software that costs $40,000 for the businesses to purchase, and they just gave it to us to use. They wanted to see how it would work in high school. And I really, again, that wasn't something we sought. One of our business partners, when they were visiting them, they said, you need to go check this out. So we just really work really well together. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I got. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I just think the focus of keeping it on kids and how we can help them instead of making it about money and how can they help us.
I think that was perfect. All of that should be very helpful, Chad. And I'll take a minute if you want to unshare your screen there, Chad.
Yep.
And then does anyone have any questions for Chad?
So good of Chad to share his cell number. You're very giving.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask a question of Chad and Tim, if I may.
Yes, yes.
So I know you both well, and I'm a great fan of your work. You're both Iowa treasures. And I get one question could be, how do we grow more school leaders like you? But that's kind of a bigger question than the one I want to ask you about, which is at your schools, Rocket Manufacturing and Delco Best are these experiments. And they're looking pretty wildly successful as experiments. But how much does the rest of the faculty look upon the program? I mean, you got your science teachers, your math teachers, your English and history and foreign language teachers. Any role or any rub off, any influence that these experiments happening sometimes in an outbuilding and sometimes down the hall are influencing the school milieu? Chad and then Tim.
Well, I think, I don't know, but I perceive a little bit of, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but a little of, well, this thing gets all this attention, what about me or what about us? So I mean, I think there's a really minor undertow of that, but I think for the most part, everybody is very supportive. I think our biggest frustration, and the instructors from this program would tell you, is that I think they would say, I don't think all the teachers really know what we're doing as much as we talk about it. But we've involved the art program, for example. So the signs that we produce, we have a shop that's downtown here that they just called us and said, hey, can you make some signs? We'll just sell them in our store. We won't mark them up. Whatever profit you get from the sale, we'll just give it back to you. And so we use our art program. They have helped design some of the signs. We have had talk about incorporating physics and metallurgy and those sorts of things into there. We've not gotten to that point yet. My first business teacher I had when we first got started, we couldn't get him interested in having his business class run the business side of it. And I have no idea why. And we hired a new business teacher when that person left, and he's just ran with it and just doing an awesome job. And he was so excited about it because he already knew what we were doing and was the reason he applied for the job. So, you know, from that standpoint, it's been wildly successful in helping and bringing other teachers into the mix.
Yeah, I noticed, Chad. I don't think we visited since you added that full-blown business component to your operations. That was so awesome to see kids in finance and communications and whatnot getting involved. And clearly that's diversified, you know, the young men, young women, and expanded your numbers. It's a full-blown business.
Yeah.
We lost.
Yeah, we
Tim.
lost it. Yeah.
Well, I'll just add that when you talk about students, so our the first year we started, we had one person in the business office, and he is graduating from the University of Iowa. And there is just a big story on him. I can't remember what newspaper it was, but he is a young Hispanic man, and he talked about something to do with scholarships and minorities and needing to promote it. Or no, it was studying abroad.
Okay.
And so he started this student group to help promote studying abroad for minorities. And he credited Rocket and the communication skills that he developed in there as how he has the confidence in organizing something like this at University of Iowa. So it was really kind of cool.
Wow, that's good to know. We're always on the lookout for young talent that will help promote these programs.
Absolutely. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I just want to thank both Chad, and I know we lost Tim, but there was a wealth of information shared with everyone, and they have so graciously, I'm going to share my screen with you again, agreed to be a resource for you, and I would highly take advantage of that. And just some other things to note. We've talked about how we have 68 STEM best programs in 63 and 58 models. This is a map of where all of the models are located, and both, I know Chad and Tim reference some of them as being a resource, and that's what we like to promote here at the STEM Council, is that once you're a STEM best family, you're always in the family, and we utilize our knowledge and share our resources, and please reach out to these and utilize them for feedback, or if you have questions. Another thing we like to highlight is if you don't know what STEM Best Region is, here is a wonderful map, and you should get to know your STEM regional manager, which we're fortunate to have 6 of, and they are just a great asset in knowing, especially in particular, your local resources. And as always, I am here as the project coordinator to help with the STEM Best initiative statewide, and Chad and Tim both said they would graciously share their contact information, and feel free to email them with any follow-up questions. This is the second in the series of our webinars, so feel free to tune in. We have 3 more. Grant Writing 101, where our Associate Director Carrie Rankin is going to provide tips to successful grant writing. We have Cost Share, which is always at the top of our frequently asked questions, on March 10th. And then our final webinar series is How to Navigate Our Online Database for Application Submission. So please feel free to use these resources. And again, thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.
Thank you, Chad. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome.